Welcome back to the Whatnauts Reactor Core number 122. We are here to talk about Marvel's Secret Invasion. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa,
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to have a new Marvel show to talk about.
Yeah, we got a good one to talk about. Well, one that I've been anticipating.
Right.
At
not
least.
that there are bad ones. It's not like, oh man, I got to talk about what if, who's making me do this. But there is something special about Secret Invasion. Right down to when you look at it on Disney Plus, it lists the genre as spy/espionage before it lists superhero. And I love that. I love that that's what its focus is.
Exactly. I think for me, part of that is also like the comic that it borrows its name from was kind of a big deal when that hit in the comic book world. It was a Marvel event book, just like Civil War was, stuff like that. So I think just the cachet behind the name is just like, oh, Secret Invasion. Oh, okay. This is a big deal here. Right. And it's not necessarily like this is the Captain Marvel show. This is the Miss Marvel show. This is the Hawkeye show, right? It seems more like an event that is happening. It's not just about one character.
Yeah, this is it already has repercussions reaching back to things from like 12 years ago and reaching who knows how far into the future.
Exactly. So yeah, I think the series as a whole, there's 6 episodes planned. Let me pull up the Wikipedia so I'm not talking out of my booty. 6 episodes over the next couple weeks here. This first one happens to be written by Kyle Bradstreet and Brian Tucker. I'm not familiar with Brian Tucker, but Kyle Bradstreet wrote one of my favorite shows, Mr. Robot. So right off the bat has some good pedigree with that. But yeah, Secret Invasion episode 1. Melissa, what are your thoughts?
Big surprises here. Big surprises right off the bat. And I think it's got a good emotional core to it. I like that this show it's just about the friendship. Well, among other things. It's not just about this. But I like the focus on the friendship between Nick Fury.
The Secret Invasion was the friends we made along the way.
The focus on the friendship between Nick Fury and Talos. Yeah. Just these two adult men being good friends. You know, in a way, sure, we've had that before, but with like Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Captain America and the Winter Soldier. But I like it. I like that they're taking time amidst all the espionage and mystery and paranoia for these two to just be there for each other, to banter in this really like naturalistic way. Like the two of them are making jabs at each other, and then Maria Hill is like, hey, let's get to work. And I'm like, let them have it. They're getting their work done. Let them talk to each other. This doesn't have to be a quiet classroom activity.
There you go. Good stuff. Yeah, I thought this got off to a great start. Just immediately, this feels very different than the rest of the Marvel shows, which is unfortunately also a line that I feel like I've said with every single Marvel show, which I don't think that's a bad thing. I take back, unfortunately. I like that they are trying different things. They feel like they're in different genres, or their inspirations are pulling on different things. I like that. But even like this show compared to the other Marvel shows that are out there, I feel like this one feels much more mature. It feels like it's not it probably still will be, but this first episode feels more like, oh, this is like the Bourne trilogy. Like that's the stuff they're pulling on rather than like the family, like let's all go to the movies on Sunday afternoon and see what's right. Which sometimes the MCU can kind of feel like. which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's got a space for everybody. It's just that in this space, you're going to be extremely worried, and there won't be like an object that turns humorously large thanks to PIM technology.
Well, you never know. 6 more episodes, right?
Big scroll. That is the season finale.
Yeah. Yeah, like it feels like it's not like that. I think was maybe one of my critiques of the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, is that it just kind of felt like every other standard Marvel thing out there. Whereas this, if anything, feels more like Winter Soldier, but it still, like, there's not much of that in the MCU. Like my stuff of like, it feels like like this, or it feels like that, is stuff that's not in the MCU. And that's something I've hoped that kind of they would have been exploring a little bit more by now already. This is what I say when like I don't feel like superhero fatigue is really all that much of a thing if they really lean into these genres. And I think this is nailing it, because just immediately there's lingo and jargon, and it's going 90 miles an hour. It's already tense. It's already paranoid. There's no like slow build up to something that we're already in the thick of it. And I love that. So yeah, I am absolutely loving this. Indeed.
Yeah, we've got big surprises. The episode starts with Agent Martin Freeman getting shot, and then he turns back into a Skrull, and it's like, how long was he like that? From what point has he been a Skrull? Is it just since we last left that character at the end of Wakanda Forever? Is it somebody who just took his identity like that morning? It's unclear yet. There's nothing specifically hinting at the one you've always known has been a Skrull.
Well,
but you never know what direction they could go in.
With the comics, is that there's I don't want to spoil too much for the comics if anyone wants to go check them out. I will say that the people over at Marvel told the like directors and stuff like, don't read the actual comics while you're making this show, because this has nothing to do with the comics except for the name. But yeah, like that was kind of the feeling with those comics, is that anyone could have been a Skrull for as long as you knew them. Like,
yeah,
maybe Spider-Man got captured back in the 80s and was replaced. Like that is what they were insinuating with that. And there is a moment in the comics where, yeah, there's like a big reveal that not everyone is who they say they are. I mean, there's a few smaller ones of that, but there's like a big momentous one where it's just like, oh my God, like this goes a lot deeper than we thought. There's a ton of people that are not who they say they are. And that, like, that's the thing, is sometimes they're sleeper agents and they didn't know that they were, like, that was just the idea, like they had their mind wiped of like all Skrull stuff. So yeah, Everett Ross could have been a Skrull for some time, right?
Which the other thing we just recently learned about him is that he used to be married to Val. And I know Val has also been at the top of people's lists of possible Skrulls. And you have the question of how long has Everett Ross been a Skrull? If he's been a Skrull the whole time, is Val also a Skrull? Were they both Skrulls? Did each of them know the other one was a Skrull? Did she have like a human husband and then she's like, I wish I had a Skrull copy of him?
Right. Yeah, like that. I think we will get some answers to questions like that as the show continues. My one piece of evidence that he might have been there, at least for some time, I don't know exactly how much some in air quotes means exactly, but I don't think it was like he became him this morning or this week. Is that he has the like communicator watch thing that goes directly to Maria Hill's car, and like how do you get that technology, or how do you get that number if you haven't been embedded in that position for some time, right?
That's true.
So
although
but it's not.
It does always puzzle me when you see the scroll transform not just into the form of a person, but into all of their clothes as well. Like, how far does that extend? You know, if you're morphing into somebody who's holding a phone in their hand, do you also grow a phone out of your hand? And if so, does it work like a phone, or is it just a piece of plastic? Is it just a prop? How deep does this go? And I'm sure these two are not related, but it does remind me of the bit in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where Rocket realizes that Groot hates hats because he thinks hats are an extension of somebody's head. And here they are. Skrull just grows a hat like it's part of the head.
Exactly. The other one bit of info I will bring in from the comics about the Skrulls is that I don't think when they shapeshifted, they could do clothes, but technology is an area I don't know about. However, powers. Originally, I don't think they were able to mimic any like mutant powers or like the Fantastic Four, all that stuff. However, there are some that do eventually, like it is a mutation of the Skrulls or something like that. There are super Skrulls that can then mimic people's powers. So that could potentially be something that's on the line here. Maybe they just morphed technology into that, and who knows, they're all super Skrulls. I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. But the other big losses this episode, besides fake Everett Ross for unbeknownst amount of time, is we found out that Talos' wife Soren passed away at some point. For some reason, we know that at least he believes it has something to do with Gravik and his group, but we don't have any details. We don't know how long it's been since this happened. And who else might have also been taken out in whatever event that was.
I find that odd. That's one of the things of like, we get, so to skip ahead a little bit, like we get Maria Hill's death at the end of this, and it's not a scroll. She does not
the main
change
event
back in here. And I've seen a lot of people talking about that as being the big death in this first episode. And then I don't see as many people talking about Soren, who some of you out there might be like, who's Soren? Like what, who? But it's one of those details that both in like superhero comics and spy espionage stuff that it's like, it happened off screen. We're hearing that people mention it, but is that exactly what happened? Is he just saying that? Is he lying? Is
this
is he
Mission Impossible
something?
Ghost Protocol? Yeah, it's that. It could be that exact move.
Exactly. Where we don't know. Maybe she is undercover in with what's his name? Gavik. Is that it?
Gravik.
I forgot the R there. Yeah, or she could potentially be what's her name playing the MI6
Olivia Colman.
Yeah. There's all sorts of possibilities here, and that was the tagline of the comics, and I'm sure it will absolutely be a recurring theme here in the show of just like who do you trust?
Yeah,
because it's gonna become difficult. Is the Nick Fury on screen gonna be the correct Nick Fury? I don't know.
We have reason to believe he is. Not that anybody couldn't be anybody, but I think what they did with setting up Talos and Soren are Nick Fury and Maria Hill is leading us to believe that if the two of them are together in the scene, that is Nick Fury. That's not anybody else, etc.
I just mean like down the road. Could there be a bait and switch, right? Like, could they intercept him somewhere and then send in the other squirrel, but we don't get that scene where he got intercepted until later on, right?
Yeah,
like, that's the thing. Like, at some point, you have to question the Nick Fury that you think is real. Like, who knows? Nick might be dead. What if that's Horan? I don't know. Conspiracy theory hat is on right now, you guys. It's fun. I'm having a blast.
Have I ever shown you this comic somebody drew and put on Twitter when the final season of Lost was airing, where Amelia Earhart steps out of the jungle and Sawyer's like, Amelia Earhart? She's like, yes, Sawyer, you are my son and I am your son. And then it just says, tune in next week. We could be getting that wild. Who knows?
Who knows? Absolutely.
But to talk about Maria Hill, she's a character I've always enjoyed. I think people in general have always liked Maria Hill, but watching this episode really makes me realize we do not know a thing about her. Nick Fury, also a very secretive, very sort of direct professional character. He's there to do a job. He's not here to socialize. We still know things about him. We know like what his grandfather did for a living and how he likes his sandwiches. I don't think we've learned a single characteristic or trait or hobby or anything about Maria Hill. Yeah. And watching this episode made me very sad. At the end, it made me very sad that we never, maybe we will in flashbacks, or like Fury will eulogize her or something. I would hope she would get her whole own Black Widow treatment and we see a previous Maria Hill adventure from Out of Time. But it makes me sad, but I think that is effective. If what this show wants to do, if its primary goal is to shock you,
characters you love, of course, if we might not make it
right, and to kill a character who does feel like she's been around for a long time and her story isn't complete because they never really started a story with her. She's really just a support staff for the other protagonists. Like, yes, it's going to take you by surprise. You know, if you see a character who feels like they've had an entire run. Like if Hawkeye showed up in the show, you're like, oh, I bet they're killing Hawkeye. Hawkeye feels like he's done plenty already, you know? Yeah. So I
that is kind of the unfortunate thing about a 6-episode mini series, right? You know that if someone like Hawkeye shows up, it's like, I bet you they're a squirrel, or like they're probably
or they're probably
gonna die, right? Yeah,
alien
some
or
bigger name,
dead.
Yeah.
Are the two results that can happen to you.
Exactly. I this is one of the things that I am worried about is in a 6-episode show, will they have enough runway to really tell the story that they need to? Potentially, they absolutely could. I think they can definitely do it. I also know that some of the other 6-episode Marvel shows maybe didn't stick the landing as well, right? They had all the ingredients, or they just didn't. The cake somehow came out messed up. So if the start was this strong, I'm wondering like, how are they gonna raise the stakes down the road? And I know some of our other critiques of the Marvel shows is that they're kind of separated from the movies in the sense that it's like, it's cool if you've seen them, but if you haven't, like, you're really not missing anything. Like the end of those Avengers movies, we know that Chris Evans gives the Captain America shield to Falcon there. So we know he's going to be the next one. So in Captain America 4, when he has that continuity is still there.
Yes.
But also there's a whole show about him dealing with like the weight of accepting that. And if like, that's great context if you've seen it, but if you haven't, you're still fine. So I really hope that this is a show that we can point to and be like, this is required viewing. Like this will change the status quo of the MCU going forward, or at least in a way that this is what the world looks like going forward. Because I think what they've done with the scrolls is actually really, really smart. Of like, yeah, they got saved. They are kind of they're refugees. They are looking for a new home planet that was promised to them 30 years ago. And now they're restless. Now they're angry with Nick Fury for not having come through on his promise. And it's like, you guys just disappeared and abandon us. Like, they are rightfully upset. They're rightfully angry, which I think is super smart. That seems like a great natural progression in a way that I don't think really any of us were thinking about, which is fantastic stuff there.
Yeah, I will miss Maria. One of the fun things about Maria Hill is because she is in this secret, clandestine, always up to something, like watching out for people when they don't know she's watching out for them sort of position. You could go into any Marvel project and wonder, maybe Maria Hill will show up in this. It is kind of sad to know we don't get to play that game anymore.
Absolutely.
But I enjoyed the time we spent with her while she was here. And it is, in terms of a narrative escalation, I think an appropriate appetizer to what may be further courses in this meal of intrigue.
Yeah, absolutely. I really, really enjoyed the sequence at the end there when they are looking for these bombs, and you see when Gravik finally shows himself after he's been like leading Nick Fury through the crowd, and you see all of these different people that he's come in contact with just to kind of tip him off that, like, I've been close this whole time and you didn't know it, or like maybe you did, but now it's confirmation that I was there the entire time, which I love that. I thought that was a great sequence there.
I like that whole final.
Oh, good. Go
ahead.
I
just want to say, please. I like the whole final set piece at that carnival, that fair. I think which is a common set piece, but there's something about that one that feels like very specific. They're located in Russia, and you've got these things, at least I, a Westerner, believe to be the pieces of Russian culture, like the acrobats and the matryoshka, like blow up dolls and things. Like it gives it, at least as far as I can tell, something a bit more specific than just generic crowded street event.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So there was one Easter egg that I kind of wanted to point out, and I don't remember exactly what it is. Oh, I do. I was like looking it up on Google a little bit earlier to be like, what was it exactly? It was something to do with the president. And it was the person in this show that is playing the president is one of three people who either have played the president in the MCU or will.
Yes.
We have President Ellis, who we saw in Iron Man 3, and I think in some of the like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV shows and stuff like that. We have this guy, I forget his name. Is it
Ritson? President Ritson?
Something like that. And then we also know that when Harrison Ford plays Thunderbolt Ross, is that he will be President Ross. So I think the implication is that whoever this guy is, something's happening to him.
Right, which is he will be assassinated. He will be a Skrull, and they will take him down. Perhaps he's like, this is too much. I resign. Maybe like something takes out the first lady or whoever the first spouse. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he's like, I gotta take care of my kids. An alien killed my partner. Like there's death seems the most likely, but there are a lot of things that could happen to cause this shakeup. In addition to just. It seems kind of silly, but what
in the wake of like, hey, there was this secret invasion that happened under my watch. We need a strong military leader like Thunderbolt Ross here to step up, and maybe then that's how and why he starts the Thunderbolts, right? Or wait, that their name? Is that who I'm thinking of?
The Thunderbolts. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I was going to say, like, I think I was mixing that up.
Could be all sorts of things. Maybe that's a president from an alternate dimension. Maybe there's a time jump. Who knows quite yet? We'll know in a couple weeks, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of the one kind of interesting Easter egg of just
which is
we know that someone else is cast as the president down the road.
Interesting. They could have it's big enough news. Harrison Ford is the new Thunderbolt Ross. They didn't have to tell us he will be the president. So I have always been puzzled. Why did they give us this piece of information?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're taking away a possible surprise of what will happen to President Ritson, what other tricks do you have up your sleeve to make up for the loss of this one surprise?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's most of what I have to say, but I also want to loop back around to the start and talk a little bit about the opening credits. Because there is some controversy surrounding these. I think rightly so. But Melissa, I know before we started recording, you said that you also wanted to talk about them a little bit. What did you think of them?
First off, I think it is interesting we have opening credits. I think every other show has had big end credits. I don't know if there's any narrative reason for that other than just variety or something like that, or maybe just breaking up these longer episodes. Mm-hmm. These are like 50, 55 minutes. I'm not sure if the other shows have gone quite that long, but I thought they were interesting. They're really eerie and creepy, and with all these sort of morphs between like human faces and Skrull faces, and it's kind of abstract. And then I learned that they were AI generated, and I'm like, oh, that explains it. Like every time you look at like AI art, it does have that sort of blurriness and lack of like distinct lines and shapes and things, which I will say it fits the tone of the show. There is at least like a thematic connection and an effectiveness. I mean, not knowing that before I watched the opening credits, like there's a vibe you get off of the opening credits that you don't get from anything else.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I have to say that, I think the fact that these credits were made by AI really sucks. There are people that could have made this and they could have gotten paid. And I think coming off the back of Marvel and kind of Disney in general, but especially Marvel MCU stuff kind of being critiqued as like, hey, the CGI isn't looking as great as it used to, and then hearing the artists speaking out being like, yeah, that's because they're crunching us, they're overworking us, they're underpaying us, all of that stuff. I don't remember her name. I think it was Victoria Alonso. There was something with her that I think it had to do with something else, but she, I think, is no longer in that position, and she was ahead of some of the like visual effects departments, something. And so I think on the back of stuff like that, they opt to go with, well, if you guys are complaining, we'll just go with no one making this, and instead it's an AI. That move sucks. That move really sucks.
I'm sorry to say I don't have any background knowledge for specifically how the thing was put together. Like, I don't know who runs the thing, who is there like coaching the AI to give it what they want it to give it, or if it's like, well, if our normal people we work with are overworked, do we have a less labor intensive strategy we can use at the moment? I don't know. I don't think this is something that's going to work in other contexts, but given the narrative and the sort of emotion in this show, what the credits look like, I think fits it. I will say that. I don't. Of course, you could get many talented artists that could also achieve something very effective, but when I watch it, it doesn't feel ineffective.
Yeah, that I will agree with at the very least. I think tonally and stylistically, it's an interesting choice the way that thing looks. Because they like the pictures are morphing and moving, and things just look slightly off and mixed together. And sometimes you can't tell what's human and what's scroll and stuff like that. I think the idea behind whatever prompt they wrote to create this, or whatever like stylistic like touchstones that they were pulling on, like that stuff makes sense, and it fits. I wish it was made by actual people. So, but yeah, there you go. I still had a blast with this. I think this is off to a great start. And we shall see. We will be back here for the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Joe in this here. So I'm excited to talk about it week in and week out. Melissa, do you have any other kind of last final thoughts that you want to add to stuff here?
Oh, I'm enjoying it so far. I kind of regret saying I thought the opening credits looked cool. I'm sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings.
I think you're fine. Like I agree. I think stylistically they look good. It's just made by artificial intelligence. Anyways, cool. Well, that will wrap us up for our reaction to Marvel's Secret Invasion episode 1. Like I said, we'll be back next week for episode 2. In the meantime, we also have a spoiler cast for The Flash, if you would like to go check that out. And lots more stuff here on the Reactor Core feed. But Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities.
There you go. You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter. And if you guys would like to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at The Whatnots, we are at The Whatnots on Twitter. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. If you are watching this on YouTube, we got plenty of other videos on this side, that side. There you go, for you to check out. I'll put that Flash spoiler cast up there. But yeah, this has been number 122 of the Whatnots Reactor Core. We will see you all next time. Bye.